Wasting time. Wasting time.
So what we're going to do here is, well, unfortunately, we don't have the budget to bring HenryG onto the podcast. We have managed to get his alter ego, his cousin, his brother, who knows who it is, but it is HenryB. So we're going to get HenryB up onto the podcast here. And what we're going to do, fellas, is we are going to pitch to HenryB, who is definitely not HenryG, which Asian or Oceanic player we think should be joining Cloud9. Now, remember, there are only a couple of slots, so you better not be picking an AWPer. Unfortunately, they've already got Woxic. So let's just start this off by saying welcome to HenryG. It's great to have you here.
Yeah, hey everyone.
All right, looking forward to giving our opinions here. So I don't know who wants to start with this one. Who wants to go first and give their player to Henry to rate and, you know, whether or not he'll pick it up?
I was just going to throw it to Pilly. It's, you know, his.
Don't throw it to me first. I'm still thinking about mine.
Oh, okay.
Highly
Well,
disorganized.
if you're already thinking of yours, let me do mine first so that you can't choose mine since you guys already know. Now, I want to pitch this one to Henry, and it's obviously a player that we are quite familiar with from Oceania, although one might say he's from Asia as well, and that's the beauty of this because we were able to choose an Asia or Oceania player, and to be honest, I've gone for one that sort of fits both. I actually think Urkast should be the player to join Cloud9. Now, my reasoning for that is that he is pretty much hard carrying the Mongolian teams at the moment. It kind of seems like he's a little bit hard stuck in Mongolia right now. He's got himself onto a half-decent team, and they had some decent results, but they haven't really been able to do anything past that. And I do feel like he's been kind of gatekept a little bit by his teammates. From my discussions with Urkast, I think he has a very good mentality. You know, he's a player that seems to really work hard on his game. He seems to be quite into it. He's not the kind of player that seems to sort of just coast along. He wants to be the best. You know, we've talked about that with him, even on some of the previous Geographically Challenged podcasts, where he really seems to be putting everything into the game. And best of all, he speaks English already. So you don't need to worry about that. I think that's very important if this player is going to be joining Cloud9. So hopefully that's a tick in your book, Henry. And not only that, but he's also had success on the international stage before. You know, with Greyhound, he's gone to some majors. He's performed reasonably well. And who knows what he would be able to do with a better team around him. And speaking of a team around him, he actually made Greyhound, right? That was the team that he created from the ground up. Yes, he had assistance from some of the other people in that roster, but he was one of the founding members. So this guy knows how to fit into a team, how to integrate into a team, how to build a team. He's good in clutches. He's a player that gets shit done. And he's consistently one of the top-rated players in the Asian region tournaments as well. If you go and look at that Perfect World Fall tournament, he's actually, I think, 5th rated at the moment and doing pretty well for himself. So all I ask for you, Henry, is please save Urkast from Asian Counter-Strike.
Get out.
All right. Well, I don't know if I was expecting that response, but anyway, how about we go with you, Jim, then? Who have you got as your person to put forward?
Yeah, look, I think in terms of the player that I was going to put forward, probably a little bit left field, given that I actually haven't seen a whole heap of this player recently, but what I have seen is super promising. Obviously, in terms of the player, I'm going to put forward Jam Young.
Okay.
From Vici. I think he's actually in Elo hell himself right now. And in terms of his potential, well, I think he's yet to find that ceiling. Why? He's essentially an unmolded ball of clay, if you like. So he's one of those players that I think, particularly with the lineup that you're building a project team, you're a team that you can put the pieces where you want, a player that will listen. And I think in terms of Kassad's ability to maximize players' output based on their potential and what he thinks is a great way of playing Counter-Strike, he's got a proven track record there. So if there's someone that can pull a team together, it's Kassad. He's got the ability to do so. And just look at, as I said, his track record, 100 Thieves now without Kassad. You can tell that they are lacking that CS brain that he brought to the table. Now, obviously, as I said, young player, completely able to adapt at such a young age. He hasn't been groomed in the sense that he's got some of the bad habits already. You even see in even the way Vici play. He sort of is, I guess, scratching his head a little bit at what his teammates are doing sometimes, and he's left to pick up the pieces a lot. In terms of his rating right now, given the team hasn't been super successful in that region, they always seem to run into Tyloo, which is the gatekeepers of the Asian region. He's still putting up a great fight. And I actually think, if you were to turn the tide and put him on Tyloo, that would just cement their status as untouchable.
Mhm.
But I think taking him out of Asia, putting him into a team that is a project team, that is a long-term team, you're going to reap the rewards. So, yeah, my player to put forward was Jam Young.
Okay. Well, Henry, what do you think of Deep Gym Pact? Or I don't know if I should I'm just going to call you Jim. It's fucking awkward saying Deep Gym Pact.
Just do it.
What do you think of Jim's suggestion of a player who, as we understand, doesn't speak English?
What an absolute idiot.
Okay, so what's your response to that then? What's your response though, Jim? Like, how are you going to integrate this guy that doesn't speak English into Cloud9? Are you going to teach him English?
I mean, he's going to have to learn a communication method one way or another. So
Sure.
I think if it was good enough for Bentet, yeah, he can learn.
Definitely. Sure. I agree. Especially if he's a young guy, as they say, it's easier to learn a language when you're younger than when you're older. All right, Pilsky, who have you come up with in the meanwhile here for HenryB, not HenryG, to rate?
See, mine got ruined actually because I wanted to go with Kaze, and I actually, I was the brainchild of this concept. Not to take any flair away from you, Jordan, but I thought this would be an interesting thing to do. But unfortunately, went and picked up Woxic after I thought about this concept.
Wait, hang on. You can use Kaze as a rifler though.
You can, but I don't think I would recommend that as much. He would be a good hybrid and a secondary, so that would be a good one. But I'm not going to choose Kaze anymore, and I'm not going to go with something obvious like Inz or Dexter because everyone's already spamming that over the place. Actually, I'm going to appeal to HenryG's good nature here, or HenryB. HenryB. Sorry, Jordan. HenryB's good nature here, and I actually want him to save a whole region here. Okay, with this pickup. All right, so no small feats going on here. This would be a good bragging right.
What region could he possibly save? Are you going for a Korean player maybe, Pilsky?
I am going for a Korean player here, Jordan. Oh, no. Okay, so all the other Korean players have now moved to Valorant. They've all abandoned Counter-Strike, but there is one lone soldier left at the moment, who is also playing in a bit of a mixed team and speaking English. And he is also an Asian superstar that's been known to hard carry teams and deliver some very, very sick impact. So I'm going to pick Zine. I think Zine is unfortunately hasn't had enough of a taste of international competition. He's delivered consistent results, whether his team is dog shit or actually burdening on one of the best teams in the region. And he was a key piece in bringing Korean CS back to the forefront in combination with that veteran experience. And I think if he's able to get a taste again of, being challenged a little bit more, of getting a little bit more international experience and exposure, and also getting a little bit more guidance from someone who actually knows what they're talking about, similar to what the 1.6 guys would have done helping him out. Now he can get, a couple of brains of people who, like Assad, who obviously do have a lot of experience and know what they're talking about in terms of developing players, and also Alex, who's played, top tier CS in the circuit. I think that he could be a really, really good player and asset to a team. And I think that, not 100% neutralizes the English barrier, but now that he's gone and played on BTRG, there's obviously no Korean teams left to play on. He might have sort of made it halfway through that barrier already. So.
Okay. Yeah, I definitely agree. I think he's probably not a bad pickup either. Did you guys have anything, by the way, to speak to about Urkast? Because we've had a bit of a backward and forward now about Jam Young and I guess we will about Zine as well. But was there anything to put forward or for or against for Urkast from either of you?
I'll let you continue on, Pilly.
For or against Urkast?
As the pickup for Cloud9.
As the pickup
Since
for Cloud9.
apparently HenryB doesn't really have much to say.
See, here's the problem with all of our pickups in my mind is that I think that they've got Alex and they've got this Mezzi guy that they've said want to play an anchor role. So they've already shown that, or they've said in a couple of statements that they actually want to pick up roles that make sense. And I think all of us have actually picked some more sort of like passive rifler kind of players, like supportive to some extent, although they definitely have a lot more impact, but they're definitely more sort of passive rifler, lurker, sort of big playmaker sort of players. Whereas I think if they want to stick to traditional roles, they're going to need some more playmakers and some more explosive players, actually, which in fact, although, I mean, Asian teams have like a reputation for that kind of thing, I actually feel like a lot of the better players in Asia that I'd want to see go overseas are somewhat more on the passive side, to be honest, like all the guys we're recommending.
So maybe like your Kaze choice would have actually fit in a little bit better than someone like Zine.
Yeah, maybe.
Like,
He'd be a good sort of X factor player,
Mm.
like, because on Vici, I feel like he's way too neutered. Like, he plays passive all the time. He plays within the system. There's a big difference between Kaze, getting his nuts out and slamming them on the table and actually going out and winning you a game, and Kaze, who's just like, oh no, I've been flushed off the line. I'm just gonna run away now and go 10 for 10 even in a match. So
Yeah.
I'd like to see him actually thrown into a role where he doesn't have as much pressure to just be that consistent force and worry about losing the AWP, and instead just sort of be unleashed. And even if he's not performing lights out or whatever, or he's being a little bit more on the inconsistent side, there is people who can sort of pick up the slack, whereas Vici, they have notoriously inconsistent players, so I feel like he's forced to be a bit more on that consistent side some cases.
You want a team of Mongols 2016 just running out of choke points.
Maybe
And
that's
just being
what
sent-
Cloud9 needs.
Yeah, maybe they need someone like Score or something. Like just this guy that just fucking shoots everyone in the head from Mongolia that we've never really seen before, but he kind of claps when he plays some of these tournaments. Taking a bit of a chance then on a younger guy there, though. Was there any other notable mentions maybe for you guys that you felt like deserved at least? Like, you've obviously mentioned Dexter and Inns Pilski. I think they're probably two that are up towards the top. Was there one or two maybe from you, Jim, that like you don't need to necessarily discuss or anything, but any notable mentions that you want to sort of throw into this discussion?
Yeah, look, I mean, the Kaze one sort of made sense, right? You could make arguments for that. So, I mean, in terms of throwing his name into the mix, I think that is another one for me that made sense. I'm also very sad that Valorant has poached a lot of the really promising players too. I think that's a point to note, is that a lot of them have just crossed into the ether, and they'll be back soon, I reckon. But for now, a lot of them are just unsatisfied by what CS is offering. So yeah, other than Kaze, I mean, I wouldn't be too confident putting too many others forward, to be honest. Just in terms of what I think the Cloud9 are doing, it's a difficult task, and justification to put a lot of them forward because, as you said, English is a huge barrier, and if they're all going to be speaking English, the IGL himself, his grasp of English isn't going to be 110%. Kassad's got a good record of doing so, but I think you got the best out of Kassad when he had someone like Nexa in the team who spoke native language, and they could just share strats. I mean, I remember seeing their strats that were just typed out, and it was just shared between the two of them. So that was a great relationship. But I think, yeah, having someone that speaks English is going to be huge for that team.
Right.
But I don't think English is going to be too solid in the early stages. So it really needs to be someone with a huge grasp of English, which I don't think Asia actually offers too well.
Yeah. I guess that's true. Obviously, Oceania, there are the options as well, but how many of those players do you think could be really ready for that kind of a jump? I don't know.
They've got kids.
Yeah,
I
they've got
think-
kids. It's so hard.
Yeah, I think readiness is a big thing because they want reasonably quick success, and they've already got like one pretty big rookie player. So
Exactly.
I feel like to that regard, you would probably need players who have some experience, which are mostly Vici players, Renegades players, Tidaloo players that have actually been to majors and big tournaments after qualifying for those kind of events.
Yeah. So short of those guys, it's quite hard to dig a little bit deeper. Maybe you could make an argument here or there for someone from maybe Order or Avant, but realistically, even that discrepancy in sort of experience and tenure maybe is too much for a team like Cloud9. Anyway, HenryB, it's been great having you on the podcast. I really appreciate it. Hope you've enjoyed our recommendations, and hopefully we'll see one of those players on Cloud9 in the near future. So thank you very much for coming.
Good. That's probably my fondest esports memory.
Wasting time. Wasting time.